What's good, everybody? It's your brother Mad Black, the most dangerous and the most toxic black man on the internet, and I am black up in your face again with some more pro-black commentary. So today I wanted to do a follow-up of my last video where I talked about the killing of Charlie Kirk, and I'm warning you ahead of time that if you did not like the last video, go ahead and buckle up because we're going to be going in with no Vaseline on this one. And we're going to be having some real talk and having some real truth about this situation and the reactions surrounding it. Now, last time on Mad Black TV, America's favorite bigot Brad got his Adam's apple turned into applesauce. And we talked about all the reactions that we saw and how some people were hurt over it. Some people were happy over it, and some people, like myself, were just kind of shrugging their shoulders and saying, oh well. And I wanted to talk about some things based on some of the comments I got, but also some of the things I've been seeing on social media about this situation so we can kind of suss out a lot of the hypocrisy and a lot of the BS surrounding this situation. So my first point is, I've seen a lot of people say that, Charlie Kirk was shot just for having an opinion or just for talking or, giving his political ideology. And apparently we have freedom of speech and you can't assault somebody, you can't kill somebody based on what they say. That is not true. That is not true at all. You can most certainly be assaulted for what you say. I'm not saying that someone should assault you because you said something that they did not like, but I'm saying it can happen. Yes, you can be touched too for the things and the words that come out of your mouth. I don't know where people got this idea that that cannot happen. Let me give you an example. I remember a few years ago when that whole incident happened when Will Smith got on stage and slapped the shit out of Chris Rock over some jokes that Chris Rock was making about Will Smith's wife. All right. Now, I'm not here to support either one of those Sambos, but what I'll say is, there are a lot of people, especially in the comedian community, were saying, oh, you can't assault somebody based on what they say. You can't assault a comedian based on some jokes. Will Smith proved yes, you can. All right. I think people have confused the idea that when they say freedom of speech, that is a law. That is something that is within the legal system where it gives you protection for what you say. Basically saying that, yes, legally, you can say whatever you want. However, that does not mean that people cannot react to it based on what you say. You see, they make it seem as if, having this freedom of speech is like some sort of magical barrier that's supposed to protect you from any type of reprisal for the things that come out of your mouth. All right. Yes, you can be hurt, you can be assaulted, and you could possibly be killed for the words that come out of your mouth. You can be hurt by that. All right. I don't see where this idea came from that you can't be attacked. Yes, legally, that's not the way things should go, but just on a basic human level, based on history of what has happened on this planet, we all know that people, yes, can be killed based on the things they say. Jesus Christ was killed for the things that he said. And that goes for all the religious figures that he was copied off of, like Dionysus and Mithra and Zoroaster and everything else. They were all killed based on the things that they said. Okay? So yes, it can happen. There have been politicians throughout human history who have been murdered for the things they did and for the things that they said. This whole idea that people cannot be murdered or hurt for their political ideology is nonsense. That's not realistic as to what goes on in human history. And certainly, this is not what goes on in American history. American history is literally a series of physical conflicts based on people's ideology and what they said. The American Revolution was a physical battle fought over the ideology of what the colonists thought and what the colonists said against the King of England. You understand that? So this country was founded on that. And if you look through American history, it's literally one shooting conflict after another of people feeling and being assaulted by violence based on their ideologies and what they said. There have been several presidents who have been assassinated based on their ideologies and what they say. There have been several political figures who have died in violence and in shooting. One of America's founding fathers died in a duel. Alexander Hamilton died in a shooting duel based on things, his ideology and things that he might have said. You understand that? So once again, this whole idea that you can't be touched based on what you say is a fallacy. It's not true at all. It's never been true for anybody. Not anyone black, white, Hispanic, whoever, whatever. Anyone can be touched based on what they say. I'm not saying that that's right. I'm not saying that that's what should happen, but that's what happens. The law of freedom of speech that's in the Constitution does not protect you from feeling the consequences of what your words that you put out there. And realistically speaking, if you say that you have freedom of speech, then that means other people have freedom of speech to respond to you in any way that they see fit. This brings me to my second point. The entire MAGA movement is built off of being a complete asshole to other groups of people. That's what the whole MAGA movement is. It's not make America great again. It's make being an asshole great again. Okay, and it's led by one of the biggest assholes in human history, the lace front wearing tangerine, Donald Trump. He has been one of the most foul-mouthed, disgusting, lowbrow human beings that has ever existed and wormed his way into the White House, saying all types of vile things about men, women, children, minorities, immigrants, whoever. Anyone can get it when it comes to the tangerine. He doesn't show anyone any mercy, any quarter. He calls women ugly. He talks about sexually assaulting women. He talks about wanting to have sex with children. He can do and say whatever he wants. Okay, and that has been the crux and the theme of the MAGA movement. They've all taken their marching orders from him. They've all followed his example. He has made it great to be an asshole again. And all the assholes that work in his administration and those who work around his political ideology, they have felt like, the shackles have been taken off and they can say and do whatever they want to anybody else. And they've been very free of the mouth when it comes to how they talk about other groups of people because, once again, their lord and master, Mr. Lace Front wearing Tangerine, gave them the marching orders and showed them the example of how to do that. And it makes sense because if you can be a bigger asshole as him and make it all the way to the White House, why wouldn't other people follow that example, right? Why wouldn't other people think, well, hell, this dude is successful financially, or at least that's the image that he projects out there and his company projects out there, right? But if he can be successful financially and he can make it to the highest political office in the country by being a complete asshole and a douchebag to other people, then why shouldn't I do that? You've seen so many other politicians take that example and run with it, right? You've seen so many other ones who are not even remotely qualified for their position. I just talked about one, that Goofy Gomez chick, just doing and saying and doing all types of weird stunts to offend people in order to get into office. So they've all taken their marching orders from King Asshole himself, Mr. Tangerine. And Charlie Kirk was just like that. This dude was not successful at anything else in his life other than being a bigot. That's his claim to fame. He has not done anything of worth. He has not contributed anything meaningful to society. He never invented anything. He's not a great thinker. He's not even a great doer. He's not like some sort of, blue collar worker. He was a lifelong failure who found his way into success by being a racist and a bigot and harnessing the racist and bigot feelings within this country of certain segments of the population. And they all fell into line to worship this man and put him up on a pedestal and made him the battering ram for their own bigotry and their own racism. That's one of the reasons why a lot of them are so upset that he got killed, because that almost puts like a target on their back. They feel like, hell, he was saying what I wanted to say, and if he can be killed for doing that, right, and be killed in the middle of doing that, that means that can happen to me too. Someone can hear me saying the same BS that he's saying, and maybe they won't kill me, but maybe they'll pop me in the mouth with their fist or something, and I can't, I don't know how to defend myself. I'm a worm. I'm a coward in and of itself. That's why I spew a lot of this trash in the first place, so I won't know what to do if I'm ever faced with any type of violence or reprisal for saying this type of nonsense that Charlie was saying. And really, if you are someone who supports Charlie Kirk and you believe in so-called freedom of speech, you should support the freedom of speech that other people are saying about him. This brings me to my third point. Either it's freedom of speech for everybody or it's freedom of speech for nobody. You cannot have selective outrage and a selective idea of what freedom of speech is. If Charlie Kirk had the freedom of speech to say what he wanted about anyone who was dead, right? Because, Charlie Kirk had no problem talking trash about Breonna Taylor or George Floyd or all the way back to Trayvon Martin or Ahmaud Arbery or any of these black people who were murdered for no reason by these pigs or any of these other mutants who just decided that they were the law and they had the right to take a black person's life. Charlie Kirk had the freedom to say what he wanted about them. He had the freedom to make jokes about them. So that means now that he has paid the piper and now that he has gotten his head popped like a can of Pringles, other people now have the right to say what they want about him. They have the freedom to say what they want about him. And the crazy part is the majority of things that people are saying is not even anything that's not true. All they're doing is taking his words and putting it back out there for public consumption. They're taking the things that he said and putting it back out there for people to see what type of person he was before he died. He was literally in the middle of spewing some garbage right before he got his head popped. They were at a white university in a mostly white city in front of a mostly white crowd, and he was already trying to turn the conversation on to talking trash about black people. Not a black person in sight, but already he was trying to turn the conversation of gun violence and talking trash about black people, and he met his death at the hands of gun violence. The irony of it all. But if he had the freedom to do that, then that means other people have the freedom to talk about him. They have the freedom to criticize him. They have the freedom to make jokes about him. They have the freedom to make any type of post that they want about him. He's not the only one. He was not the arbiter. He was not the sole controller of what freedom of speech is. And that's the thing about a lot of these MAGA mutants is they want the freedom to be the biggest assholes. They want the freedom to be the biggest bullies in the world, but they don't want anyone to say anything back to them. They think that they are the sole possessors of what freedom of speech is. And they can be as nasty, as belligerent, as arrogant, and as ignorant as they want to be against anyone they want to, and have no empathy and no sympathy for anybody else, but then they'll get butthurt and cry and get all red in the face when someone turns that around on them. Once again, going back to my first point, you can be touched too. The same nonsense, the same ignorance, the same venom that you put out there, it can come back to you. Now getting to my last point. I will say last, but also the least, I want to talk about a lot of these bootlicks out here who are trying their damnedest to blame all of this nonsense and all this violence that happened to Charlie Kirk. They're trying to take it and blame it on the black community. And I'm specifically talking to a lot of these black conservatives out here because I've seen a lot of them, either they're boohoo crying, like Candace Owens. She was out there doing her mammy tears for Charlie Kirk, saying he was her best friend and, there wouldn't be any Candace Owens without him. Well, now that he's gone, that means that you can go away too. Okay, that's a positive that's come from his passing. I'm not celebrating his passing and his murder, but that is a positive outcome from him being taken off this planet. If there's no you without him, now that he's gone, you can go too. Just leave. All right, go be with your white family and your kids and live in Swirltopia. Leave us alone. Okay, but there's so many of them, either they're boohoo crying like that, or they're out here trying to foment violence against the black community. And a lot of this, ever since Charlie Kirk was shot, all of a sudden, all the blame of, even though he was killed by a white man, more than likely, people are trying to blame the black community because the black community does not have sympathy or empathy as a collective for this devil. And they shouldn't. I mean, even Charlie Kirk himself said he does not like the word empathy and does not like having empathy for anybody else. So let's keep the same energy and not have any empathy for him. But you have these scumbags who work for a lot of these conservative think tanks who are paid by them, and they come on social media and they're doing their best to work as agents of chaos and get the anger and the flames and trying to get the revenge of these white people to fall onto the black community. And you've had several HBCUs be threatened and black people have to shut down events because you got these scumbags out here stoking the flames and trying to incite violence against the black community. I've seen people like Anton Daniels make video after video after video, and he's showing all black people saying things about Charlie Kirk. Now, there's white people, there's Asian people, there's gay people, there's all types of people of every stripe in this country, even people in foreign countries. There's just people in Europe talking trash about Charlie Kirk, but you have the glasses wearing milk dud, Buckman himself, putting all this footage out there, making it seem as if black people are the ones hating on the death of Charlie Kirk. All right, that's intentional. That's Anton Daniels deliberately trying to incite violence against the black community. You have people out here like Myron Gaines doing the same thing, trying to incite violence against the black community, saying because black people are having no empathy for Charlie Kirk the same way he had no empathy for us, then that means that's the reason why white supremacy exists and that's why racism exists. And this is why people don't like black people, is because of stuff like that. As if these demons needed an excuse to hate black people. They're literally creating one from this situation. Once again, Charlie Kirk was in front of a white audience at a white school in a mostly white city, killed by a white man, and all of a sudden they're talking about black people. You see what I'm saying? They're blaming black people. Black people had nothing to do with it, and that should show you that white supremacy is a mental illness to the point where you'll have all white perpetrators, all white people in the area, and still these demons blame black people for something. It's still somehow black people's fault. That just shows you, Charlie Kirk had black people on the brain, before his breath got taken away. And then as soon as he dies, you got these mayonnaise mutants out here and they're black bootlicks, trying to create a scenario where it's black people's fault and trying to create violence against black people. I've even seen them saying like white people are going to have their revenge and white people are going to go on the attack against black people on all over social media, knowing damn well we had nothing to do with it. So I know a lot of these bootlicks, either most of them are just lying and most of them are just cowards, but there are some out there, they think all black people are dumb, right? Or they think all people are dumb. They think because they themselves ghetto gag white balls, and they have swallowed all the BS and propaganda from their conservative masters, that other people can be as easily manipulated into nonsense as they are. They think everyone else is a silly, dumb hoe the same way that they are. So they think that they can just keep pushing this nonsense and pushing this narrative on their pages, and everyone's going to fall for it. But I'm here to tell you that these demons, these mayonnaise mutants, are tired of you Negroes too. In fact, a lot of you conservatives, you are the next target of a lot of these mayonnaise mutants. A lot of people, that the ones that you serve, the ones that you're kissing the ass of, you're going to be their next target. Okay, because they can get to you first because you're sitting right there up under them. You know, the master is going to kick his dog first before he goes out there, go hunt the fox or hunt the wolf. You see what I'm saying? He's going to go hunt the dog first. His crawling, serving dog that he has up under his table eating his scraps. So a lot of you dummies are in danger, even though you're trying your best to kiss as much white ass as possible and try to, assure your masters out there that everything's okay and we're with you, massa. They don't see you as one of them. You're not one of them. So a lot of you dumb fools are going to find out the hard way that you are not one of them. And God help you when that happens. So you folks can let me know what you think about my points here and what I had to say. And I appreciate all of you that gave me support in that last video. And I would appreciate to hear your comments on this one. Anyway, Mad Black, and I will be back with my foot on the devil's back.